日本語を全く話せない人が
for directions or
really appreciate
like a surreal
日本語を全く話せない人が日本に旅行するのは難しいと思いますか？
I think it is a bit difficult if you want to travel to smaller cities and especially to like villages or somewhere very outside of the touristy areas, especially because it's usually only written in Japanese and you can say, okay, I'll use Google or I use some translator applications, but sometimes you may not even have internet or yeah. So it might be a bit difficult over there, but if you especially are visiting like bigger cities such as Tokyo or like Osaka or like Kansai area, I don't think you will have that much of a problem. And also people sometimes, they speak more English here in bigger cities than they would in like villages or smaller cities. Yeah.
you can definitely experience a good trip in Japan without knowing Japanese, but the experience is so much better if you learn just a few words so you can speak to locals, ask for directions, or just order food and ask for recommendations. So I do recommend learning just a little bit of Japanese before you go.
if you are a first-time solo traveler in Japan without speaking any Japanese, just prepare yourself for a roller coaster of trouble. Anyway, thank you, Drew, for inviting me to your video. I really appreciate that. I heard that I'm going to have another trend to come to Japan in near future, and we can grab a coffee or have a face-to-face talk. And people, if you really interested in Japan, I really encourage you to come to Japan one time and be prepared yourself because there will a lot of things that will blow your mind. And yeah, it's definitely a experience of lifetime. Have a nice day. See you in Japan. Bye bye.
Do you think you can enjoy a short trip without speaking Japanese?
I think you can enjoy a solo trip without speaking Japanese. There's plenty of people that easily come to Japan without knowing any bits of Japanese. But I think if you know even small things like saying like arigato or like some basic phrases, it goes a long way and it will help make your trip more enjoyable.
And also, I think solo trip is really good for people who's trying to do that. I feel like Japan is quite friendly in terms of the people, transportation, food, and everything else. You easily find halal, vegan, vegetarian food in Japan, so you don't have to worry about it. And then it is a safe country, so a solo trip will be really good to do.
I think it depends on what kind of person you are, and I think it depends on where you are planning to go. If you are the kind of person that's very open-minded and not easily stressed, and if you're okay if you accidentally get lost or get into some time spent trying to figure stuff out, then you'll probably be just fine. Especially if you go to the locations that are mostly kind of tourist locations, like Tokyo or Kyoto. If you're someone who can speak English, there's a good chance you'll run into people who can help you out in English in hotels and a lot of those spots, so you'll probably be just fine. But if you are headed to more rural locations, more kind of hidden gem locations, that can be more challenging if you don't know any Japanese at all. So I would recommend learning a little bit, at least the kind of words and things that can help you with directions and ordering things from restaurants or checking into hotels and things like that.
Do you think you can enjoy a short trip without speaking Japanese?
I found out that many people don't speak English here, so I guess it would be difficult, but I think I'd figure it out somehow, so yeah.
And if I could enjoy a solo trip without speaking Japanese, definitely. I think even though a lot of people don't speak English there, maybe even in the countryside less, the people try to be as helpful as possible. And personally, I always try to use like Google Translate, so I think it wouldn't be an issue.
Okay. What do you like about Japan?
I really like the kind of culture that's here. I love that whenever I go outside, there's always new things to do and new things to see. Like there's always different events for the different months and seasons, and you can travel like 2 hours on a train and end up in a completely different place. And there's so many places and things to explore in Japan, so it makes living here really exciting.
Thank you.
Well, first, I love the food. I love the flavor combinations and the simplicity of it. It makes you feel better when you eat Japanese food. I think the traditional aspects of Japan are what I love the most outside of the food. I just think that the dress and the houses, they make Japan just feel like a surreal place. And it just always seems to make me dream about going there one day.
What I like about Japan is the fact that there's so much innovation, but at the same time staying true to the roots and the culture aspects. Culture is very important to me, and I think it's really cool when a country still preserves certain aspects of how things were in older time periods. So I really love that Japan kind of merges those two with the newer, innovative technology and experiences, as well as keeping the more ancient times, architecture and experiences and just things of that nature. I also really love that everybody walks and holds themselves with respect. Respect is very important to me, to everybody around me. And that is one thing that I wish my country, America, did a little bit better, was to actually just pay more respect to everybody around you, because we're all human beings at the end of the day. And I really do like how Japan really kind of hones in on that aspect.
Everything. I love everything about Japan, except Okinawa spiders.
Japan as a country, it's super organized, very advanced with like technologies as well. It's very clean. I think I'm from Switzerland. I'm very used to how clean it was in Japan as well.
I think one of the biggest things that I really like about Japan is safety. I feel like the country itself is quite safe. Whenever I go out until 2 or 3 a.m., I would be able to feel safe walking in the street or even walking to the hotel area. Like no one will disturb me. Well, unless you actually go to places that are really busy like Kabukicho or Roppongi, it's probably a little bit different matter. But I think 99% of the time I feel safe. And that's also one of the biggest difference between Japan and Australia. Australia is really good when you walk around and everything during the day. But at night, it depends on the area that you live in. It can get a little bit too dark and maybe a little bit unsafe.